Hello and welcome my friends to the Flying Kick. This is Savino speaking, and today I'm bringing you the first series of the channel. The series is called Does It Worth the 8? And here I will be covering every Hamster interactive beat-em up released on the Nintendo Switch. But this is not a proper review of the game. You can find reviews of these games all around the web. I want to make something different. I want to talk how I feel about the game, what was its place in history, and if I think the game worth the $8 asked. So, without further ado, let's play the intro. Zero Team is a beat'em up that very few people were aware about on its time, and even today there isn't many people that knows about it. To be quite frank, I only learned about it when it came to the Switch. I never saw it in any arcade here in Brazil, and no magazine that I had talked about it. Even today, as I said before, very few people seems to be aware of it. We can blame the timing of launch for that. Zero Team was released in 1993. It was right in the middle of the beat'em up craze, a year where beat'em ups were starting to become franchises and names like Konami and Capcom were showing how games like this should be made. 1993 was the year that most of us started to play Streets of Rage 2. Capcom was about to release the amazing Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. The Super Nintendo was about to get Final Fight 2 and the conclusion of the Rushing Beat trilogy, and Konami was ready to kick some serious ass with Metamorphic Force. A new dev with no track record of beat'em ups had little to no chance, especially in the arcades. Zero Team, in one sense, did everything right. You had 4 playable characters: Ace, Speed, Spin and Big O. Okay, their names weren't so great, but you have 4 players co-op, lots of destructive environments, explosions everywhere, and a fast and precise gameplay. But the game failed in 2 important aspects: graphics and sound. Let's talk about the sound first. Listen to this. Now, listen to this. At the arcade, sound was as important as visuals, and unfortunately the sound design of Zero Team isn't the best around. Muffled voices, timid explosions and impacts, and a soundtrack that's more fitting to an adventure game than a beat'em up. This would never help this game to get any attention at an arcade, not when you got Damned laughing out loud in the next cabinet. As for the graphics, the game have its merits. The sprites are well done, animation are what you expect for the time, and even with some extra details. The environments are clear and colorful, but everything was small, very small. This was a time post-Final Fight. Huge sprites were the norm by then, and here you could barely see the character over the shoulder of the people in front of you. When you have Mike Haggar, bigger than life, crushing everything on its path with a heavy soundtrack to boot, why would you care about some tiny sprites jumping around to the sound of elevator music? You wouldn't. And that's why we shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Zero Team, despite the flaws I mentioned before, is a fantastic beat'em up that did enough to differentiate itself from the others. The game used the Final Fight configuration of 2 buttons with jump, attack and special when you press both of them. But while using your normal attack, you can use the directional moving it up or down to have 2 extra attacks. One is a jump attack, like a Dragon Punch, and the other is a throw move that launches the enemy to your back. That's not your only throw, you have your regular throw move here too, but this one is crucial when you get surrounded while attacking an enemy. These 2 extra moves alone would be enough to improve the combat, but you also have a defensive move that I found particularly cool. You can roll when knocked down. I mean, how many dire situations can you escape with this simple move? You can reposition yourself and restart your attack from another place. That's something you don't see in every game, and there's more. You can even throw objects up or down, instead of just in front of you. Another move that will help you a lot to evade some deadly situations. Talking about objects that you can throw, you will find a lot of them across the 6 stages. I don't know if it was a design choice or something they did to compensate the fact that there's no weapon in this game. No swords, knives, baseball bats, nothing. Except for the occasional dynamite pack and rocket launcher. But this detail doesn't detract the game in any way. The gameplay is solid, the controls are very responsive, and the game is surprisingly easy for a 90s arcade. I mean, you will die a lot here, but not as much as you would die in other games from that time. Sure, you have some overpowered enemies, unfair moments, and your health does not regenerate when you beat a level, but overall, it's an easier experience. So, does it worth the 8? Well, I think it does. For what it is, this one is a pretty good beat'em up with enough content to justify the purchase, and this is probably one you've never played before. Among heavy hitters like Final Fight, Turtles in Time and Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, this was a cool little experience that deserves a second chance. Who knows what kind of gameplay we would have today if people had paid a little more attention to the game with tiny sprites, jumping to elevator music. See you guys in the next one, and remember, keep beating up.